Let's Put On a show about musicals, theater, and musical theater by someone who's really, really into all of those things.
And someone who's in the middle.
I'm Sabra.
I'm Lane.
And let's go break some legs.
Remember the sign-on?
I did. I'm a hot mess usually. So today we're talking about Come From Away, which is a show that started here in Seattle in the rehearsal halls of the Fifth Avenue Theater. It had a bunch of workshops. It had a production at La Jolla, it had a production at the Seattle Rep, and a production in DC before going to Broadway, where it is still consistently selling out. And
it's been a lot of places and done a lot of cool things.
Yeah, it's a beautiful show. The show itself is about 9/11, and it's set in Gander, Newfoundland, where they rerouted 38 planes when U.S. airspace was closed.
This actually happened.
This is a real story. And it's... all of these people who are stranded there is what the story is about. Like, there's no, like, overarching plot other than, 9/11 happened. But because it is coming to Seattle in the fall, I believe it's the first show in the Fifth Avenue's...
That sounds right.
...season, and it's the first stop on the North American tour.
Yes,
they're
really
bringing
cool.
it back to Seattle.
I think that's really cool.
I'm super excited. They just announced a casting for it a couple of days ago, if I remember. I remember Andrew Simonsky, Megan McGinnis, and Kevin Carolan were the three people who I already knew of in the cast. I have no idea who they're playing, but...
It'll be good.
It's going to be good, because everyone in this show plays more than one person.
Yeah. It is an ensemble piece.
Yeah, there's 12 actors, or is it 10?
Somewhere between 10 and 12.
Somewhere between 10 and 12 actors, and everyone plays at least 2 up to 5 characters within this show. And the music itself is very folky, like...
Some of it is directly inspired by the music that you would hear, like, locally in Newfoundland. Like, it is inspired by all that kind of stuff, which I think is very cool and very clever, and keeps that true element, like, keeps that truth to the story, which I really like.
And all of these songs are heart-wrenching. It's a one-act. So from the minute you hit 38 planes, which is, like, the second song in the show, your chest kind of does at least for me is how it went. My chest did the tightening with emotion, and then it just held me there the entire show until I was sobbing through the last 15 minutes. And I don't cry at things. Like, I don't cry. It's a character flaw. But I was openly weeping in a theater over the last 15 minutes of this show.
It is
that quality. I'm going to give an overview of a couple of characters, and instead of going, like, in-depth into what happens, we'll come back and revisit this later after the production here in Seattle has happened, because I assume most of our listeners are in Seattle, all 3 of you. And
we'll give you a sneaky peek of some of the things in the show so you can anticipate those and look forward to them. Yeah.
And so some of the coolest characters are, you have one man who plays the mayor of all 3 towns that we talk about. So Gander is the main town, but we also talk about Appleton and Norris Arm.
Yes.
And just one actor plays all 3 of those with a hat change. And all these character transitions are signified with, like, a hat change or a jacket put on. And you start out with everyone playing a Gander citizen.
Yes.
And then you hear about the towers. And then it goes in, and you start flipping between people who are in Gander dealing with it on the ground and people who are on the plains. And one of the coolest characters is a real person, and it's a Captain Beverley base.
Yes.
Who was the first female American captain in history. 1986, I think.
Yes, that sounds right.
That's at least the lyric is 1986, the first female American captain in history. Anyway, and so she was one of the people stranded in Gander, played in the Broadway cast by Jen Colella, who just be still my heart. I love her so much. Ever since I saw her in Chaplin.
So good. So much
good.
Love.
Good bean. I love you if you listen to this. And so, but she has the only solo in the show.
Yes.
Like, all the other numbers involve 2 or more people, and it's called Me in the Sky. And this is probably the song you've seen if you've seen any of the publicity performances they've done. It's the one that they send out because it's the easiest. You know, if they can only send one actor, they can just send Jen and it's fine. Or they can send, you know, the group of women who are on stage with her during the thing. And it's just... I have never heard a song better encapsulate someone's drive.
Yeah.
And Me in the Sky is, you know, it starts out, she says, my parents must have thought they had a crazy kid. I was one of those kids who always knew what I wanted. And then she talks, and it basically just goes through her becoming a pilot and fighting her way and fighting against all the prejudices of all the World War II pilots. And
it's essentially the song is her life up to this point.
Yeah. And like one of the last lines is, now there's something in between me and the sky. And just, you cry. You're dead.
Yeah. There's no going around it.
Yeah. It's so, so beautiful. And just all of the music in this show is like that, though. It keeps an emotional thread, and it gives you catharsis at points. Like, it gives you a laugh here and a laugh there, so you're not openly sobbing until the last 15 minutes. But, like, one thing I really like about it is, for me, when 9/11 happened, I was 10, not even 10, I was 10 years old, I was almost 11. And these emotions were too big for me. Like, as a 10-year-old, I only knew something bad had happened. I didn't understand the impact that this was going to have on the rest of my life. Suddenly everyone was scared of everyone, and it was just all of these things. And, you know, I was 10, so I just kind of pushed them aside and said, life will go back to normal, and it never did.
Yeah.
And being able to come back to that more than a decade later and feel those emotions as an adult with healthy, quote, TM coping mechanisms is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, from my personal story, I only understood what was going on to the extent of what a young child can understand, because my family had been traveling 2 days before 9/11 happened. So my parents were open about telling us what had happened because it could have affected our family. And so I only had the barest idea of what could have happened and what could have affected me and my parents and my siblings. But even then, I was a kid. How am I supposed to comprehend this all at once? And so coming back to it as an adult is an experience, but it's a good one, at least for me.
Yeah. And that also goes for people who were already adults when it happened. One of my favorite things is the theater is a safe space for everyone.
Yes.
And if you need to feel things, go to the theater. Like, it's not a joke. It's something that I'm always told is theater saves lives. And it does. Like, there are so many different foundations that work with, you know, like, transitioning veterans and having them work with drama programs, and stuff like that. And even if you were an adult and had any amount of trauma from this, listen to this score, go see this show, because it gives you a safe space to process
feel those emotions.
And feel those emotions and not be ashamed of feeling those emotions. Because that was the biggest thing for me is I didn't think I was allowed to feel about it because it wasn't me. You know, the closest connection I had is one of my dad's coworkers had a friend who avoided the tragedy. And it was a weird time, and I didn't allow myself to feel when I was 10 because, you know, it's not me. Life's going to go back to normal. I'm just going to keep smiling and pushing through. And, you know, current state of the world. Need I say more? But and scenic design-wise, like, changing tracks a little bit, it's a simple show. There's no set changes. The only props are a couple of tables and some chairs.
Yep.
And they get moved around the stage, and the band is right there on stage.
Ugh.
And they actually, at points where it's appropriate, are part of the group on stage.
I love that. Anytime you can incorporate everyone together, just especially in this show, it works so well.
Yeah, and as they were saying, and I remember watching an interview with the creative team about how some of the stories were condensed to tell them and also not have 8 million characters. So,
which is going to happen anytime you adapt something.
But all of these stories were condensed with the permission of the people whose stories they were.
Yes.
Like, they were able to call up the person and say, hey, so we're going to combine your story with this person's, and this is how it'll flow. Is that okay? And they're just like, yeah, sure. But I can't say more without spoiling this show.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I was going to say is the characters specifically, all of them feel real and genuine, and all of them have a fleshed character arc. Nobody's story is cut or spared at the expense of someone else's. Everyone comes together to bring it. It is an ensemble show. Everyone's story is important and valid and has closure. And I love that about this show.
Yeah. If a character is introduced with a name, they have a full development arc.
Yes.
But it's so good. And shows like this are the reason theater exists. It's to tell the stories that need to be told. And I know that's really pithy and reductive. But I can't think of another medium that this particular story would work in.
I can't either.
And going to see this as a movie, especially without the music, would be uncomfortable. You wouldn't want to hear these stories without the music. Because it's very sad and these people are going through trauma. But with the music and the ability to express and comfort in that way, it's mind-blowing. The story, a little outside story is it was our second day in New York when we saw it, and we literally got up late, booked it to Times Square to get the tickets, ran into a Starbucks to grab, because we saw a matinee, and grabbed protein boxes and the refreshers. We're standing outside the theater chugging so we would have caffeine and food in our stomachs to see this show.
And it was so worth it.
It was just the best. And I remember the lady next to me just kind of kept giving me these weird looks because I was crying. And I was just like, how are you not crying? But she was also older, and I'm not sure how much of it she actually heard.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Because at the beginning of the show, I heard her talking to her husband, and she kept going, what? What?
One of those.
Yeah. Probably from Jersey.
Yeah.
But anyway, they didn't say anything. They were nice enough. I was on the aisle. They were 2 seats in from me, so. But that, Come From Away will give you a sense of closure over a tragedy that none of us were able to really process at the time. I think is the way to bring this into context for me.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Let me look at my notes because I can't.
Aside from Jen Colella Hard Eyes.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I have a note that's just Jen Colella in all caps. So there's that. What other notes do I have? I don't think I have anything super important. I appreciate there's little within the humor, there's tiny little bits of Canada humor, and it's just the right amount of clever but also overtly silly Canada humor that I appreciate it.
Hockey.
Yeah, hockey, Tim Hortons. Mm-hmm. Just little within that humor that we spoke of, there's just these little tiny little things. It's that's a Canada joke. I appreciate that.
The people who wrote this were actually Canadian.
Yeah. So they knew what they were doing. Yeah, and then just my thing about there are monkeys on this plane.
There are monkeys on this plane. if come see the show so you can understand that joke.
Just a joke that I will not give you any context for. Go see the show. You'll remember it and you'll laugh. And
I believe tickets are on sale now.
I think so. Yeah.
For it starts early October, runs through early November.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in Seattle, come see this show. If you're not in Seattle, it should be touring to a city near you soon. Look it up. Get a ticket. It's so worth it. I think we should rate this thing.
Yes. I have ratings. So my ratings are story/characters get a 10 out of 10 for all of the reasons that we have mentioned in the entirety of this episode, because that I will go into further when we talk about this again, when I go into specifics. And then the feeling overall of the show is a thumbs up emoji, weeping, crying emoji.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll give this I'll say a Seattle 10.
Okay.
Because Chad Kimball and Kendra Casabom. We didn't see Kendra. She'd already left the show at this point, but she was the original Janice. And they're both from Seattle.
That they are.
And it's, I love seeing Seattle actors do other things. And, I know Kendra's come back to us because didn't she... Yeah, she was... Mamma Mia. She was in Mamma Mia. She was Donna. She was Mother in Ragtime.
Yes.
Which I don't think... No, we didn't do Ragtime.
No.
But we did do Mamma Mia. I saw Ragtime. But anyway, I love it when Seattle actors do things and they're Broadway actors now. They're not just Seattle actors.
They're Broadway actors from Seattle.
Yeah, they're Broadway actors from Seattle. We've got a lot of I wouldn't say we've got a monopoly on it, but Megan Hilty's from here. Cheyenne Jackson.
Oh, that's
He's
right.
a Seattle boy. Kyle Nicholas Anderson.
Okay.
Some
people who are great.
I know Kara Lindsay's first acting job was at the Fifth.
Oh. Fun fact for y'all out there on the internet.
Yeah. I have no clue what show it was because I was just really overwhelmed when I met her. But
that's okay.
That's okay. So yeah, Seattle 10 for the acting. The music is heart emoji, broken heart emoji, heart emoji.
Yes.
And then...
Listen to the soundtrack and you'll understand why.
Yeah. I have to convince myself not to cry on the bus every time I listen to the soundtrack. Or cast recording, pardon me. Semantics, yeah. And just... I know I have a thing about singling out an actor, so Jen Colella just A+++, perfect being human.
Yes. Agreed.
So yeah, this has been Let's Put On a Show. I'm Sabra.
I'm Lane.
And let's go break some legs, y'all, but not actually break them, maybe just a sprain.
No, don't do that.
Let's Put On a Show is a production of Blood and Thunder Publications, all rights reserved. Our music is Ragamama by Purple Planet Music. And yeah, thanks for coming back. It's been a while. That's my fault entirely, because I have been very busy and also very lazy. So hopefully we can put more stuff up more regularly now. I've been sitting on this one for too long, and I've been sitting on a few others also. So yeah. Hope to see you guys back here again soon. Have a day.